Okay, I'm live. Okay, so yeah, really plain thing. So I'm trying to think about Zelda. Here was my conclusion. I rambled on for a bit, and comparing Donkey Kong Country, which is what I usually look at, and then Legend of Zelda. I think Zelda. You're gonna have to rush through this, but I think the jungle in Donkey Kong, I was associating with vastness, and I stumbled upon the concept of education. I was thinking how my education was really big or wide or vast. Yeah, maybe wide, vast. I was associating with that with the word liberal. You take a liberal, generous serving of something, and maybe that's why we end up lost when we have so much of fascination. Obviously, education is looked at more coldly and strictly, but it fills you with fascination because you go to school in one day or in 1 week, 1 month, 1 year. One day you're getting information from 5 different topics, 5 different subjects, maybe 6 or 7. And you might not be able to utilize that all every day. Now, subconsciously you are, obviously. But after time has passed, I think symbolically, for me, it's something liberal, something vast. And so I was thinking about the jungle with that, and how does that I thought that was accurate for Donkey Kong Country. This jungle, I like that game because you have to find yourself in this stream of accurate, true knowledge. So where do I go? The desert, the snowy part, the jungle part, the rocky part. It's all valid. It's just a matter of where you want to settle down. I was thinking it's not about settling down. It's about helping somebody else who's trying to build something. I didn't get to that part. So then I looked at Legend of Zelda Lost Woods, or I just thought about it just before I made this video. I thought the Lost Woods were more tame. It's not a jungle, it's more tame, and so I was thinking that's more like Alice in Wonderland. I was thinking how that's more British, more English. It's something associated with Alice. You don't think of Alice and the jungle. The Lost Woods and the jungle, I think, represent the same thing, but the Lost Woods is more human. The Lost Woods is more tame. It's more domesticated. It's like you would get lost in the woods, but I don't think it's as unexpected as the jungle. And so then that brought me to my next point, which is on the tip of my tongue, and I feel like I'm about to forget it. That brought me to my next point, well, which is that maybe a game like Earthbound did a really good job at transcending that by not touching that. It relied on the modern setting so that we have a new starting point for what is defined as wilderness. So Donkey Kong defines wilderness as the jungle, which I think precedes the Lost Woods. And then Zelda defines the wilderness, I think, as you start in the forest area, but then eventually get to the Lost Woods always at some point. And so it's more about the woods, which I think is more tame, like Alice. And then Earthbound, I didn't think about this too much, but they've recognized the modern environment as wilderness because wild things happen there. Enemies, friends, unexpected encounters, the whole game itself. So I just wanted to get to that point. It only took me about 4 minutes. I wanted to get to that as soon as possible before I forgot it so that I could get back to my regular stream of consciousness. So here, I have nothing left to think about. I could have kept thinking. I could have kept thinking on my own, and I would have come to some elaborate conclusion more so. But I paused and I started a live video. So at this point, I don't know where to go next. Is within Earthbound, is there like a Lost Woods? Is there a lost section within that game itself? Like Donkey Kong Country is all about the jungle, and then there's like a lost jungle area in Donkey Kong Country 2. 3, I didn't touch that much, so there's probably some other hardcore fans of that. And then Zelda, you start out in the forest area, and then there's a Lost Woods later on in the game. So Ness, Earthbound, Mother 2, y- y- uh, you start out in Onet, sort of a modern town. It's sort of suburban, so there are streets and cars and, and all this other stuff. And uh, so in that game, do you eventually get to another part that reflects that? I didn't think about that yet. Let's see. Well, so in that game, you just keep going deeper and deeper into Mother Earth. That to me is the whole point of that game. Eventually, you go into you do all the modern towns: Onet, Tucson, Threed, Fourside, and then you go to Winters and Summers. That covers, I think, the first phase of modernity. And then you say, "Oh, this isn't enough. I need to go deeper for knowledge." As the trek in Summers, there's the museum. Oh, in Summers when it's hot and you're relaxing and you're taking everything in, that's like your call for seeking out knowledge, and that's where the museum is, and the philosopher's stone that makes you consider going to Scaraba. And in Scaraba, you go to the Egypt area where you find the means to go deeper to the deep darkness. From there, you're clearly going deeper, Tenda Village, then you go below the jungle, then you go below the deep darkness, where you get to the dinosaurs. So as you go deeper, you're going into the past. The deeper you go into the game, the more ancient you get. Egypt, the deep darkness, then the dinosaurs. And you're going also closer to the center of Earth. So it's like you're drilling down into the core of planet Earth when you play Earthbound. And then you get to the Fire Spring, which is the natural devil's hell area. And I think they do that so much more sophisticatedly than so many other of the classic games that I played, because I'm not the most intricate gamer in terms of breadth. It's PlayStation, Xbox, for example, I never really owned. Um, so then you get to that classic hell area, and then you go deeper to the point where you actually literally go into the past in the time machine. Then you go even deeper into the past, possibly towards something that resembles entrance into either the brain, the black and white area in Earthbound. You go really deep, and the last part is associated, I think, with the ventricles of either the urethra, like the vagina, or the brain. I don't know which one. And then the last boss, once you weaken him a bit, you see a sonogram image of a baby. So that game is so great because the symbolism carries you. Some people are like, oh, it's kind of slow, it's not as fun, but you might find you're still enjoying it because it balances itself out when there's no action, because the story beneath it still is continuously making sense and actually aiding you on your journey. So as I get to that point, the video game in itself, I think, helps people find themselves. That's why you want to design something well. Like, it's the intelligent design, I guess, which we all do. That's sort of pantheistic, that we're all intelligent designers. And I think the point of life is maybe to share your intelligent design with somebody else so they can build. So perhaps design is equitable to building. And so you say, I have to build, but I don't know what. But by building something, you're giving somebody else something to stand on. So if you've thought about it plenty, you've probably, okay, building, what do you have to do? Build it, someone can climb it and to utilize it, and then you gotta let them build it. So I think maybe I have to make a video game, ethically speaking, because it's the only thing that someone could utilize in a climbing sort of fashion. Um, wow, wow, wow. And I recognize that with Earthbound more because I think they adhere to the modern day setting. And so they stumbled upon some kernel of truth and accuracy there. Um, Donkey Kong and Zelda, as two examples, are still totally legitimate, but that was refreshing to get to sort of bite into a fruit that didn't have so many layers on top. Earthbound, I think, is not covered with layers on top, because right off the bat, it's giving you the modern day setting of truth. Donkey Kong Legend of Zelda, you have to unravel. Here's an ancient setting which is not the modern life I participate in. I'm going to have to sit down and symbolically think about this if I want to relate it to my modern day life. So some people, I think, might stay away from Nintendo because they're like, well, I don't really like playing Legend of Zelda. And they might be right, because it doesn't really support them morally, because it's not tapping into modern day setting. Um, some people play PlayStation, Xbox, and maybe they didn't. That's some people are like, wow, they would love Mario. Maybe they do, but they don't really love it because subconsciously it's not helping them climb in life. Subconsciously, it's not really giving them something to hold on to. Yeah, yeah. It's interesting in and of itself, Earthbound. When I think about Earthbound, it can teach me so much more than Zelda, Donkey Kong, even Super Mario sometimes. So I really love that game, and I know it's got something to do with that, which is that it teaches me so much more because it's more up to date, I think. Then again, without those other great games for reference, I don't tap into Earthbound's knowledge as much. But you see that there. So I related Donkey Kong's sense of wilderness as the jungle, which is more ancient, vast, and rambunctious. Zelda's context for wilderness is the forest, which is a little bit more modern. I associate with like early 1900s, like British Alice in Wonderland, and Wikipedia. I looked it up. All that what do you call it? Memorabilia of Alice in Wonderland. Some of the posters I saw online. That memorabilia is associated with that. I think the woods are more domesticated than the jungle. It's safer, but it has a more specific, narrow sense of wilderness. And then you get to Earthbound, which goes back to which is new because it says, well, we haven't tackled the modern day setting. I know you have Grand Theft Auto. I know there's Grand Theft Auto. I just thought about it right now. I'm aware of that. Anyway, so maybe that's a good point to end it on, because you can think about that on your own, which I think is a good thing to do in any piece of art, whether it's visual, music. In music, I think it happens at the outro when you stop the music and then you have the echo, like da 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 da. I'm a musician, so when I've made tracks, I know that there's certain points where if you don't edit an area, there's a residue of what was before it that you didn't design intelligently, you simply designed. And others can make use of that on their own. Um, that's interesting. It's like intelligent design is more direct, and maybe design is indirect. So I know I'm reviewing things, but like that pantheistic view of God, intelligence, I think allocates room for intelligent design as an English concept, and it might be different in other languages. That's why I'm saying English, because I don't know what other languages think of intelligence design. But you're allowed to share that, morally speaking, as long as you see it as a means to an end. If it's the ends in itself, then I think humans are being cocky by saying they're intelligent designers, because that would be saying like you're the ultimate God. But if you're an intelligent designer and it's a means as an ends for other designers or intelligent designers, then I think it's ethical and okay. So I'll leave it at that. I want to end on Grand Theft Auto, modern like Earthbound. I'll leave it there. So are there going to be some Grand Theft Auto people who are going to try to attack Earthbound? I'm not going to like that. So I'm going to end stream. All right.